Hey there. So I'm going to do a quick update on lowering the food costs for the chickens. And if you recall from the previous video, the two techniques I'm going to do are foraging pasture, and I've created some grazing panels so the chickens can't get into certain areas in their paddock to let that grow back up. The second thing I'm doing, and my primary thing, is doing some compost piles inside the chicken pen. So I already learned a couple things. I mentioned this in the first video. Get the right tools. This is the best tool for moving compost. I had originally used this. This is a garden fork or a garden spade, really for turning soil. This has this thinner tines. It moves the material a lot better. So I'm going to take this load over to the pen and I'll catch up with you over there. So this is going to be the start of my compost bin 2.0. I started the previous one last week and I did it without this cage. I just did it in a pile. And the lesson I learned is that I seriously underestimated the scratching power of chickens. Because probably about 4 to 6 hours after I did that, I came back out and what I had piled up here was totally flat. So they really went to work on it, which is great, but I just didn't realize how fast and how destructive they were. So I went out and I invested in this little bit of fencing here. You can get it, a lot of different home improvement stores have it. It's just heavy, probably like a 10 gauge powder coated wire panel with these big pins. So you can certainly build one with some cage wire or hardware cloth and some 2x4s. I wanted to go this route. So anyway, I'm rebuilding this to keep the chickens out, to let this actually compost, because if they tear it down like they did, it'll never get that bacterial action taking place where it starts to heat up and kill weed seeds and break stuff down. And that's what I'm going for. The fancy term for that, I think, is thermophilic. It's just a hot compost pile. So I've already started with one layer. I picked everything back up off the ground that I previously put that in the bottom, did a layer of grass clippings, and now I'm going to layer it. I wet it down because now we're in a dry spell. It's been, I don't know, in the 90s, upper 80s, and no rain for a few days, so I'm going to wet this down, because that's your three things, right? You got to have air, you got to have water, and you've got to have your materials. So we're going to layer this with green grass clippings and browns of old leaves. I've also made another upgrade. I'm tired of carrying sprinkling cans full of water, so I brought the hose over. Hey, so the final thing is one quick look and an update on my grazing panels that I made, or my forage excluders. And so we got those right here. And this is one of them I made just last night. And so I just put the seeds down on this today, put a little potting soil on top of it and compost, and watered those seeds in. Now one from about 6 days ago is right over here, and you can see this one right here, and you can see a lot of things starting to sprout up in here. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I've got 2 of these built right now. I'm going to be building another 1, if not 2 more, and I'll just move these probably every 2 weeks. Give them 14 days for this to get up and germinate and sprout and start growing, and then I'll move them and let the chickens come and nibble on what grew. Hey Hud, go ahead, show them how we can plant it.
That little cubby.
Hello Cubby. Who do we have here, Harrison?
What's his name?
Is this the one going to Nana?
No, this is Shadow.
Hey Shadow.
He named it Jackals. No, I didn't. I named it Shadow.
Okay,
My
here.
name is...
Right here, why don't you go ahead and plant all that.
This is hard. Kinda.
You can do it.
Like that door.
Do a nice even spot.
I know. It's like a machine gun. This is like a machine gun. Boom, 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 boom.
Pick that cage up there and you move it and cover this spot up.
What are these things for?
So the chickens don't eat the seeds and they let the plants grow.
Ah, but what are you going to do with these when they're done?
Then we take the cages off and we move them, and then we go to another spot.
But when are you going to be very done?
You don't, you keep doing it every week, every 2 weeks. That's so easy. Look how nice this is just after like about 10 days.
Let's see if I can painfully
You can
crack
really
my thumb.
see the difference between where the chickens are and where they aren't. Right there.
The key wants to take the walk.
We just took this one off.
Hey, Dad, look over there. Dad, look.
And we just planted this one tonight. And we just did this one last night.
Hey! The little kitty's back. Oh, and there's his friend over there.
All right, so there was one bonus thing I wanted to talk about. I've decided to soak my chicken feed grains in an effort to release extra nutrients and to add some moisture, and I'm going to give that a try. I've seen a lot of documentation online, anecdotal, and some studies that have shown that if you soak the grains for between 2 and 3 days, it will break down that outer coating and it will actually let the seed release more nutrients. So my thinking is that if that's true, the more nutrients that they eat have to nourish themselves, the less likely they are to eat more grains. So we're going to give it a try. So right now I'm still doing a starter / grower mash. My birds are different ages a little bit, but when this final bag is done, I'm going to be switching over to a laying mash, about 16% protein. Ben picked up a good one from an Ohio-based company called Kraut Creek, and he bought a pallet of that, and it's a real nice mixture of cracked grains, some whole grains, probiotics and so forth. It's a non-GMO. So I'm gonna go switch to that when I'm done. So for right now, for what I'm gonna do for soaking, this mash kind of looks like oatmeal. And it's just the normal layer mash. And what I'm doing is I put about 30 ounces in here. I've been trying to do about 3 ounces of dry per bird per day, just as a benchmark. And I'm gonna see how that works. And so I just put it in this crock, wet it down, give it a stir to make sure it's all incorporated till it kind of looks like, you know, sloppy oatmeal. And then I just put the lid on. I don't screw it on. I just leave it on lightly, and I set it on top of the refrigerator at night. Do that for 3 days, stirring it every day when I think about it. And by the 3rd day, it's ready to go. Good morning. Come on out, chickens. Let's get some food.